All right, we are back and at it again. The duo of danger. Daniel and Abraham, how you doing, Achi?
Beautiful, man.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, by the way, for letting us use your amazing barber shop.
Thank you.
And to opening your second home for us, and always willing to be a part of the growth and the learning. Like, I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure having you here. You're putting a lot of good vibes into this place. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming. It means the world to me, brother. So, yalla.
Yeah, so it's a double win. It's a win-win. You win, I win, and they win.
That's right.
So just to start off, we're going to be talking about Yehoshua Chapter 4. Last week we were talking about Chapter 3. Even 2 weeks ago, we got a little stuck off schedule because of Shavuot.
Right.
Where Avlamir was studying all night.
You too.
I had a stomach ache. Never mind.
Oh, you didn't? You were there?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. But Baruch Hashem, we back on track. We're doing our goals. Just to cap off where we were last week, you remember what we were talking about a bit?
Talk about Rahab and...
Rahab is 2 chapters ago.
Oh, really?
We also discussed her a bit. Last week we were discussing how the Kohanim were taking the Ark,
that's right.
to the middle of the Jordan, and then all of the people passed,
right.
And they waited until everyone passed.
Right.
And now, in this week's Parsha, we're going to continue the story of Bnei Yisrael as they finish crossing the Jordan River, as well as, some other surprises that are waiting for us in this week's chapter. So, Yehoshua, Perek Dalet, chapter 4, let us begin. So Hashem talks to Yehoshua, Vayomer Hashem el Yehoshua lemor, קחו לכם מהעם 12 אנשים, איש אחד משבט. Take for yourself 12 men from the people, one from each tribe. Right? How many tribes were there? 12 tribes, 12 people each tribe.
No, one each. One for each.
One person for each tribe. Total 12 people. V'tzavu and command them and tell them to each man, take from the middle of the Jordan River the biggest stone you could carry, and bring it with you. And bring it with you to where we're going to camp tonight. And Yehoshua listens to Hashem. He calls these 12 people, one from each tribe. He tells them, listen, Hashem said, pass the Kohanim, pass the Ark of the Covenant, the Aron HaEdut, and pick a boulder up, put it on your shoulder, right? And this will be a sign. This will be a sign, so that later on, when your children, when your grandchildren, when future generations will ask, what are these stones? It will be a remembrance to the miracle that Hashem did. What miracle?
Crossing the Jordan.
Yeah, the splitting of the Jordan. That the Jordan River, Ashkara, it's split into two. One side just piled up, defying the laws of nature, the laws of gravity, the laws of water, and this will be the sign. And of course, the people, they respected Yehoshua as much as they respected Moshe. There was no difference. There was no hardships in the passing of the leadership from one to the other. Usually like you see nowadays, when one president goes and another president comes up,
they want to change everything.
They disregard everything that was done before. Everyone loses respect. It's total pandemonium. Literally, there's no respect nowadays like there used to be. But from the passage from Moshe to Yehoshua, it was very, very smooth.
Right.
No hardship. They completely accepted him as their leader. And so they did as Yehoshua commanded. They took 12 stones, one for each tribe, and they took it with them. ו-12 אבנים הקים יהושע בתוך הירדן תחת מצב רגלי הכהנים, ארון הברית, ויהיו שם עד היום הזה. והכהנים נושאי הארון עומדים בתוך הירדן עד כל הדבר הזה. So meanwhile, while all this is happening, the Kohanim, together with Aron HaBrit, are standing in the Jordan. They're like the protection that the miracle will continue.
Right.
And you can imagine that the water is piling up, just becoming taller and taller and taller while all this is happening. And as long as the Alon Abrit is there, Hashem is giving this miracle, and the water isn't crashing down.
The Kohanim were in front.
The Kohanim were they were in front in the beginning, and then they waited for everyone to pass. We also have here, it mentions the 2.5 tribes. Which 2.5 tribes?
Menashe and
half of Menashe, Gad, and Reuven. That their land was on the east side of the Jordan. Nowadays, when they say the West Bank,
right,
what are they referring to? The west side of the Jordan, which is controlled by the Jordan, like it's under Palestinian authority.
Right.
However, in these times,
even all the way on the east.
On the east side of the Jordan was also under our jurisdiction, under our territory. 2.5 of the tribes asked Moshe when he was still alive. In the Torah, we see that they will stay on that side. And Moshe said, no problem. However, you can leave your wives there and your children there. You go and you battle and you help Israel. You help the Jews conquer all of Israel and only then return to your people.
Right.
So over here it commemorates those 2.5 tribes. Around 40,000 armed men, the Pasuk says in Pasuk 13, crossed the Jordan to help Israel in battle, although they already conquered their territory. And Hashem said to Yehoshua, tell the Kohanim, the holders of the Aron HaEdut, that they should ascend from the Yarden. And Yehoshua told them, and the way the Pasuk says, could you read just these few words?
Yeah, which ones?
Niteku.
It says, Niteku kafot ragle HaKohanim el acharava.
I always got to test you a bit. But basically what this says is, you could also see it here, the soles of the Kohanim's feet were removed to the dry ground. And Rashi explains, what does this mean? That they did not come up on the west side of the Jordan as all of the Jews crossed. They actually returned to the east side of the Jordan, where they were initially, and then their sole of feet were taken from the ground, aka the ark lifted them off the ground,
and
picked
took them
up
to the other side.
Yeah, and literally they floated to the other side.
Wow.
And the people ascended. It was the 10th day of the first month. What is the first month in the Torah? Nisan. This is a few days before.
So this is on
Pesach.
Yom Kippur?
No, 10th day of Nisan, the Yom Kippur.
Oh, Nisan.
Because we always say the first month
never mind,
is Tishrei.
Right.
But in the Torah, the first month is always Nisan. Why? Because it's a commemoration to the miracle of Egypt.
That is the day that they sacrificed the lamb. From what I remember.
In Egypt?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, or maybe not sacrificed, but when they grabbed
I think they prepared it.
Right. You're right. They prepared the lamb, and that's when the Egyptians were like, well, what are they doing?
What are they doing?
Yeah. It was the 10th.
And, it's amazing that that's when they landed, just literally 3-4 days before Pesach. And they camped at Gilgal, this place known as Gilgal, which we don't really know today. We don't really recognize it as a holy city or something. But it has a lot of Jewish history to it, especially during these times and the times leading up to the building of the Bet HaMikdash, the temple. This was the main base. So they took the 12 stones with them until they reached the campsite where they decided they will camp in Gilgal. This is basically like 2 or 3 miles away from Jericho, which we saw the 2 spies going and, seeing what's going on there. And this is where they erected the 12 stones, and they made it into a monument. And, it says that, so to commemorate what Hashem did, that he split the Jordan, to know how strong Hashem's hand is, so you should fear Hashem all days. And this is how we end this chapter 4, Perek Alba of Yehoshua, 24 psukim. Amazing. So I did a little research into checking really what happened with this monument, what happened with these 12 stones, and the history of them is really crazy because especially in Israel, like the history is beautiful. It's
Right.
not like here in California, yeah, maybe a few hundred years, everything here is relatively new. Over there you have thousands of years, and you have the Romans and you have the Ottomans and you have the Catholics and you have the Jews, and like sometime in the other, someone ruled over Israel, and everyone left their own piece in the history. So basically, these stones stayed up from when Yehoshua erected them throughout the first temple, and during some time throughout the second temple, like the 3rd or 4th century AD, the Romans came in and conquered Israel, and they erected a church in that place. It was called the Church of the 12 Stones. And inside, they had the massive stones, 6 on each side. And it was a commemoration. Like, it was known as a holy place. It was said one of these stones was broken. It was reinforced with, like, iron and stuff like that. It was molted to keep it strong. And it said 2 young men could barely lift one of these stones.
Wow.
That was how big it was. And it was a place of worship for the Romans as they were there, and they used it as a church for a good 300-400 years, which is amazing to
So
say.
where are they now, you said?
It's in the same place. Gilgal is right near the Jordan.
On the west side.
On the west side, like 3-4 kilometers from present-day Jericho.
Huh.
And there are even maps from the 6th century and the 5th century that it says Gilgal. It says like Church of the 12 Stones.
Huh.
Going back 1600 years ago, not even in Jewish religion, especially in Jewish religion, but even in Christianity you could see it. After that, when the Ottomans came and they conquered Israel and they took it from the Roman hands in around the 7th century, don't take my word on it. I'm not a historian. I just did my research.
I got the book. Hold on. Like 640.
Yeah, so 7th century does add up. See? 4th to 7th century. And the Arabs probably conquered.
The Arabs conquered right here in 710.
Yeah, and they see this church, and what do? They destroy, they wreck, they ruin everything good. And they ruin this church, and they just completely destroy it. And since then, hundreds of years have passed, and archaeologists in the 18th, 19th century were able to locate this church, but they were not able to identify the stones that Yehoshua took.
That's sad.
From the Jordan. It's sad, and not every holy monument is preserved. It's still there, I'm sure, just these huge stones got lost in all the wreckage, unfortunately. However, just even us talking about it and seeing it written down here in Judges, originally...
This is the proof.
It is the proof, and we also have proof in the Christian origins in the history. We see it throughout the centuries, and even today, the Arabs call this area Julia. Julia sounds very familiar. Sounds very much like Gilgal, exactly. Which is another proof. So maybe we don't have the 12 stones physically, but essentially the monument is still there. And honestly, the reason I decided that I want to start talking about Sefer Yehoshua is because, every year we read the Torah again and again and again, which is great.
We never passed
right, and we reach the climax. The whole Torah focuses on the Jews entering Israel, the Jews leaving Egypt, and right when they're about to go in, we do Simchat Torah, we dance, and we start from the beginning. And this is such amazing history, and it's lost. It's not lost, it's there, but there's not so much knowledge about it. So I wanted to spread it, and just talking about it, it brings these monuments back to life.
That's right.
Yeah. And, it doesn't necessarily need to be there, but the fact we think about it, we understand Hashem's greatness, that He did this.
You know what the best monument is that all this happened?
The Torah?
You, brother.
Me?
You and me.
We're living proof.
We're living proof.
I love that.
That this happened. Because
Yeah.
if this hadn't happened, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly. And one thing, a life lesson that I wanted to take from this chapter that really stuck out for me is we all go through miracles in our own life. What do I mean by miracles? Maybe we don't split the sea. Maybe we don't make the sun rise in 2 in the morning, but we all overcome our animalistic selves. And this is what changes humans from animals. This is what makes us special. People think that the freedom of making a choice taken for granted, but the truth is it's a power. And to harness it is miraculous. Imagine this. You have what you normally do, the easy thing, and you choose not to do it, to do the harder thing. That's crazy to just wrap your head around that.
I think Rabbi, I think it was Breitowitz who said that freedom is not doing whatever you want. That's like, people think that freedom is being free to do whatever you want. He says, no. Animals do that.
Right. That's not real freedom. That's freedom, a real choice.
He says freedom is doing the right thing when you don't want to do the right thing, but you do it anyways. That's real freedom. Or not doing something that you want to do because you know it's the right thing. That's real freedom. And if you think about it, freedom from what? From like what you said, your animalistic instincts. That's real freedom. Once you can, what we would call Leibniz Rhyme, which is that physicality, that limitation of this body, then you're really free. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I mean, we all have that inside us.
Absolutely. That's what Paro is. Paro is that master inside of us that tells you, do this, do that. All the animalistic things that the Torah says don't do.
I mean, we have an animalistic part to ourselves, which is our bodily needs, to eat, to drink. It's our physical temptations. And on the other hand, we have emotional side to ourselves too, how we feel. We feel happy, we feel sad. And we also have like a logical standing of like what is right. Like, I don't want to eat now, I should work out. I don't want to spend money, I should go work. And these all come together, and it could cause a lot of inner turmoil, like conflict.
Right.
But the more we are aware of each and every one of these voices in our head, and we're able to just raise the awareness and understand what it is and what's the right thing for us to do, we narrow the bridge of the different voices and all the turmoil, and we find resolution within ourselves and the world around us too.
Absolutely.
And, we all go through life, and I always say, like, the richest people, the poorest people, people living in Israel, people living in America, and people living in Uganda, we might go through different lives, but we all have the same experiences. We all experience happiness. We all experience hardships. We all experience sadness. And the point I want to get to, we all experience growth and achievement. And we're all, one time or another, faced with huge challenges in our lives. And we are able to overcome this challenge. And this is when we actually grow. And when this moment happens to us, you can't just let it fade away, because that is what's going to happen.
Right.
We have to erect our own monument.
That's right.
To remember, I am that person. I'm the person that, for me, for example, I was a smoker. I would smoke cigarettes for a decade, and I wasn't a light smoker.
Really?
In the morning, give me my coffee, 2-3 cigarettes. Before that, don't even talk to me. Don't look at me. I don't exist. Before there's sand still in my eye, I don't care. And it was a huge addiction for me. And it was something I struggled with, and I still struggle to today.
Right.
Whenever you open yourself an addiction, or you let yourself loose something in life, it's like opening a door. You can never close that door. You can put a lock on it.
Right. No,
but the door.
Believe me, I got a lot of locks.
we all do. But the main idea is, okay, Baruch Hashem, I prayed, I cried to Hashem to be able to stop. And Hashem helped me. But I achieved that. And I achieved that, I always need to remember. I need to erect a monument. Not just for myself, so that the next time I get tempted, I'll remember of the hardships. I'll remember the struggle. I'll remember the pain. And I'll remember the growth. But also for other people, to inspire them that they can look at my monument and they don't need to go through these challenges in their life.
I like that. Bro.
They can already see my monument and understand for their own life. And that's the takeaway from this chapter in my opinion.
You are my monument.
I
just look at you and I'm like, there it is.
We're all each other's life for a reason. Yeah. And you know, it says in Pirkei Avot, Ezel Chacham Alomed Mikol Adam. Every single person out there has something to teach you. If you are wise, you can know what to learn from them. And a person who's not wise thinks he's smarter than everyone else. Daniel Negreanu, he's a famous poker player. I know. He's in the industry for decades. And if you know, there's like new poker and old poker. Like the turns and the way the game is played has changed over the years and it adapted. And a lot of the people that are old school, they're very bad nowadays because they did not learn to adapt. But Daniel, he's still up there and he's still like one of the best, not just because of his name, but he says, he says, once you think you're the smartest in the room, that's the moment everyone will start passing you. Why? Because you don't learn anything.
Exactly.
You don't adapt.
I always have a saying. I tell my dad that every day I'm more ignorant. He's like, what do you mean? You're studying all the time. I'm like, exactly. Because the more you know you don't know. And the more you want to learn.
Wow.
So when you know this and you think you don't know this, then once you learn this, you know that you don't know this. And it grows and grows and grows. So the more you learn, the more you know that you don't know. And in theory, the more ignorant you become. Doesn't mean less knowledgeable. I said more ignorant.
Right, exactly. You become more knowledgeable, but also more ignorant.
Yeah. Wow. Which is good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, just to understand that you're ignorant, to raise the awareness is kind of like...
And if you can't understand that, then you need to study more.
I like that. It's a good paradox. That's it for this chapter. Just a sneak peek into next chapter where Yehoshua is not rushing straight into war. Hashem actually tells him, sit down, relax for a second, you know. You just passed it, like, take a break. All the nation goes through a circumcision. They keep the holiday of Passover, of Pesach, first time in the Jewish land, in Eretz Yisrael. But that's to be discussed for next week.
It was really nice having you here.
It was nice to be here as usual. Hopefully we'll continue it. And until then, if you have any questions, comments, feedbacks, feel free to comment below. Reach out to me. Shout out to Barber George here. 26.
Barbershop 26.
Yeah, anyone out here in LA, highly recommend. Thank you, and stay peaceful. And let me know also if you went through any difficulties in your life, any monuments you erected. Share it below to inspire everyone else. Thank you, and take care.